Thank you, Dr. Tim. What were you reading, the record of Goosebumps? What is it, a book or?
It's one of the spoken word pieces in a book by Andrea Gibson, and the title of the book is You Better Be Lightning.
Oh, okay.
And it's just a series of wonderful spoken word pieces about life and love and experience. And so, thanks for asking. Have a wonderful show.
Yeah. So, welcome everybody to the second hour of MindShifters Radio, and today is Monday, August the 7th, 2023. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us, your show. And while I'm waiting on Michael to dial in, I'll just say again that the Blog Talk has made a few changes on how people can connect. If you are signed up on Blog Talk, which is free, and they keep your information private, it's real simple, and you can, with that, you can actually chat in the chat room. But then they also have a direct connect button where you can call in to the show using your microphone from your computer instead of being on the telephone. I haven't had anybody give that a try yet, but I'd like to know how it works. They have also added a button on the switchboard so that I could call somebody and add them to the phone call. Haven't tried that yet either. But anyway, I keep getting pop-ups when I sign into the switchboard, and it tells me about this new way for hosts and guests to get on the show. So if anybody gives that a call, please let me know, or gives that a try, rather. Let me know, and we'll see how it works. And we hope that everybody has had a wonderful weekend and are blessed. And if you follow us on on Facebook, you'll see that we have actually been posting our daughter-in-law, Jamie, who's married to Michael J. Ryce. Her father got killed last week, and so we didn't post anything until they had gotten all the family in. There was one brother that was actually on a cruise, and he had to get off the cruise and fly in from Ireland. And so he got in yesterday, and so then everybody was making the announcement. They made all the arrangements and things. And so if you're on their Facebook page, you'll see that. His name was Milton Jamison, and sweet, sweet man. And so they have a large family. There was actually 7 of them, and Jamie is the only girl. So she's got 6 brothers, and they have all been gathering and giving each other support. And she lost her mother when she was very young. So she's got a stepmother, though, that has been wonderful to all of the children for many, many years. And so we're holding all of them in the space as they get through this. And so just send love and light to Jamie and her family. And Michael has joined us now, so I'm going to say welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here. And as Jeanie was saying, it would be much appreciated if everyone would just tune in to Jamie Ryce. Just tune into her energy. She's out in Waukene, Kansas, a little town, or Jamie, pardon me. Waukene, Kansas, a little town about 6 hours from Kansas City. And if you just tap in and extend love in that whole family's direction. It's been a difficult time for everyone there. And it's interesting, she's the youngest of 7 children, the only girl. And she's been processing everything that's coming up for her. And actually the family went out with a local sheriff to where the accident happened. The sheriff was the one that found him. And she ended up leading the family in connecting to love before going out into the field to the scene of the accident. And so it's been pretty courageous. for a young lady and a new mother. And beyond that, we're here to uplift every mind, heart, and being in the world that's suffering in any way, shape, or form, as we move the tools for the undoing of suffering throughout the globe and make them available as widely as we can possibly make those tools available. We invite you to pass the tools along, share them with somebody, sit down with somebody and do a worksheet. You'll be amazed. Over and over and over for better than 40 years now, whenever I do a worksheet with someone and someone collapses the pained perception that they're living in, it always, always amazes me just what they drop into. So share a worksheet with someone, show them the power of canceling a goal, and just watch what happens when people cancel that goal, how the whole perceptual mind shifts and life becomes a different process. Of course, the mind is a habit device, so many people will default to their habits over and over and over again until they overcome that habit. And I forget what the numbers are, something, I think the research, some people say 21 days, but that's a falsity. That's something somebody made up without any research. But I think, if I remember, Jeanie, do you remember it was something like 72 or 73 days of repeating a behavior before it actually becomes a habit, something in that range. So taking the tools, putting it to work, will change the habit mind and return us to the truth. And, one of the things that everybody's looking for is words to describe the truth. Well, just tell me the truth, then I'll know. Well, not how it works. If you listen to Course in Miracles, it says the truth of what we are is not for words to speak of nor describe. And what you think you are is a belief to be undone. So words, 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 words. Words, there's a chapter in my book, Words Could Never Say. Words will never give you the experience of who you are. What words can do is give you the tools, describe the tools, and if you'll follow the directions, then you can produce the result. But the result will be a direct experience. It will not be a set of words. There's a great and simple metaphor of forgiveness. It's told about an admirer of Michelangelo who was finishing the statue of David. And this admirer standing watching was just perplexed and asked Michelangelo the question, how? And Michelangelo's answer was, David was always there in the marble. I just took away everything that was not him. Course in Miracles has a very similar set of instructions. Your task is not to seek for love, but to merely seek, find, and forgive all of the barriers within yourself which you've built against it. Trying to establish your power with words creates barriers, conflict, strife, fear, and simply reinforces the barriers that have been built. Charlie Chaplin had a powerful phrase that he used to offer. He said, you only need power to do harm. Love is enough to do what matters. Now, our minds have been trained to refuse to give up what we made. And this whole world that we made is based in words. Let's carry out the instructions we were given, and that is join in recognizing that forgiveness is the key to the process of healing. And forgiveness means removal. If you study words, you'll end up with a nice big pile of words that only have meanings you've given to them. If you work with forgiveness, you'll be removing the false meanings, and as with Michelangelo's statue, the only thing left will be you. If I'm stuck in perception, and the Course calls that a skill we made up to take the place of what the Creator gave us in creation. If I'm stuck in perception, I'm stuck in the past. That lesson, What is the World? And by the way, the 2-hour, what up until just a few weeks ago was the only way to get that video was as a paid video out of our catalog. It's no longer required to buy it out of the catalog. You could if you want to support us, but you can go to our YouTube channel. There are 2 videos with the words, What is the World, in the title. One of them is a short, about a 32-minute video, and one of them is actually a 4-hour, almost 4-hour, 3.5-hour video that includes the whole DVD of What is the World. We did that for the Hear My Voice book club several weeks ago. And so we played that video and then put that video on YouTube. So if you look for that longer What is the World, you'll get not only the whole video, but you'll get the question and answer session that followed. And then we invite you to take it, listen to it, then listen to it. And I found each time I've listened to it, I've learned more. I hadn't listened to it until just before we presented it in the book club. I hadn't listened to it from the time I'd made it originally. So that lesson says that the world that forgiveness needs to be applied to will, quote, remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. A thought not founded in love creates a whole world. And we dress it up in the mind 1,000 different ways to make it important. But ultimately, it must be forgiven, that is removed. When you tell your mind that this or that or the next thing causes you pain, you generate a whole world inside of you that projects your pain into your brain's image of whatever the this or that is. And that's all a lie. It's all just perception made up to hide the truth. If someone or something comes along and does a behavior that resonates a thought with which I cause myself pain, and then I hold that thought of blame of them, then that thought turns into an image, a projection that shows me my thought in form. And then whoever it is that I'm blaming will show up with my problem attached. Therefore, my mind proves the errant thought that you're the cause of my pain. And it's all a lie. Are you in some form of upset, disturbance? Then stop with the lies already. Apply forgiveness, collapse the projections, and come to the underlying dynamic of your own mind. So when you engage in actual first-century Aramaic forgiveness, perception collapses in on itself, and you get to access the errant thought that was projected. Rather than projecting, you get to access it directly. And then when that thought disorder is exposed to love, that thought's removed, and guess what? Your pain will disappear. Now, of course, many people will live in the challenge. Well, I don't know what that thought is. Well, right. That's why we call that part of the mind the unconscious. It's hidden from us. And the mind will then tend to jump into its what I consider to be the number one pseudo solution, and that is, well, I'll just try and figure it out. and you can't figure it out. And truth ends up being hidden by denial. Literally, thinking or speaking as though something outside of you is the cause of what's moving inside of you. And when you apply forgiveness, the lies collapse. So that false belief that something outside of me is the cause of what's happening inside of me, I've got to give up. And when I forgive, my denial is undone. My thoughts of blame disappear. I realize I'm the one who's at the root of this. Remember, this isn't about letting somebody off the hook. If I've forgiven, if I let another off the hook, that's called pardoning. It is absolutely not forgiveness. And most of the world calls pardoning forgiveness. So people run around, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. Please never forgive anybody for anything. To engage in actual forgiveness, one must learn it's totally internal, and it's about collapsing perception and freeing oneself from the constructs, the entanglements of the past. Forgiveness literally is liberation from the image-making capability of the perceptual mind and all the thought disorders that underlie its function. Bringing those thought disorders, which when you put a thought disorder in your structure, because its energy is toxic to your system, somewhere the system will say, ouch, that hurts. And once I get lost in those thought disorders, I make up a whole string of thought disorders and or bring those that I've learned or inherited from my culture and my past generations. And all of that must be removed. So be prepared, if you're going to engage in actual forgiveness, to learn an entirely new skill, because true forgiveness does not look like anything you've learned from the world of perception. In fact, the Course calls the world of perception the world that darkness rules. How do you collapse perception? Well, notice, as the Course in Miracles says, you're never upset for the reason you think. And, it further, the Course itself acknowledges the challenge of this lesson. How can you learn something so different from what you've taught yourself? How do you collapse the world? So remember that lesson, what is the world? The world is false perception. It is born of air and has not left its source. How do you do that? Well, let's first understand what it is we need to collapse. Though it appears we see a whole world outside of us, we have never seen anything with our eyes. What we call seeing is nothing but a world constructed by our minds. Seeing happens in the mind, not through the eyes. Information comes in through the eyes, but what that information resonates in the mind is what creates seeing. When we think we see something outside of us, which has never happened, we'll be fooled into making the things that appear to be outside of us the cause of the meanings we hold within us. The whole world you think you see is painted by your mind on the inside of your eyeballs. It's not out there. So this skill called perception is an image-making capability with which the mind constructs its world to match what it's been trained through generations is familiar, seems desirable, and seems true. And really the only feature actually demanded by this skill called perception is that it is familiar. It has to fit the family pattern. And it will tend to keep ourselves in the role which we have been assigned. So by holding on to those pictures painted on the inside of our eyeballs, we'll tend to play out whatever it is we've been taught we are. The role may be painful, degrading, abhorrent to us, but it's our role and therefore desirable. The mind will come back to it again and again. It's totally false, it's a fraud, but having been convinced it's who we are, if we accept that false identity as true, and it will take great effort and a little willingness and tools to free yourself from it. Yeshua spoke of that self that is so familial as the self that needs to die. He said, in order for you to live, you've got to die. Now, this world of internally generated perception comes complete with color, sound, emotions, a whole construct which we then substitute for life, actual experience being presented by life. Now, why would anybody tolerate such a fraud? I offer that because what I've made is more familiar and more desirable. After all, I made it. It must, of course, be perfect. With these beliefs, the technique of substitution becomes acceptable. We habitually replace the actual world, the one the Creator gave us, with that world that we love, or we call it love. And few are aware, and even fewer will admit it, but everyone lives in a world, a perceptual construct of their own making. And this is the only world that we're aiming forgiveness at. Now, in fact, there is a part we have to play in forgiveness. But the moving of the energy is not something we can do of ourselves. Course in Miracles says this: your part is merely to return your thinking to the point at which the error was made. Now, turning your thinking to the point at which the error was made does not mean you have to go back and remember something. When you engage in actual forgiveness, contact with that original error is a function of forgiveness. Now, you'll notice that you're never upset at anyone, self included, until either you or they violate a goal that you hold. Goals create distortions. The Course says it really beautifully. You must become aware of the distorting power of the way you want it to be. All perception is driven by goals. As I was talking to Jamie the day before yesterday, every time that she was at her father's house, and every time she looked at something in the house, he was a woodworker and just created this beautiful space, up would come this next flood of tears. And I'd ask her, what is it you want there? What's the goal? And she'd bring the goal forward and say, can you let go of that goal? And each time she would then shift into something of beauty about her father. And then she'd look at another object in the house that he made, and this desire for him, this goal would come up, and when she let go of the goal, she'd go back to connecting with him. Behind our goals, we hide our pain. Each time you allow a goal to move, that brings forward pain. In Aramaic, the word forgive is shabag. It means to cancel. When you cancel that goal, the underlying pain is exposed. If love is conscious, active, and present, then the underlying pain dissolves. That's the act of forgiveness. And of course, you can't do that, but you can set the stage for it. You can do your part in it. So notice that you're never in pain, seemingly over what someone does, unless they violate a goal you hold for them. And when you let go of that goal, when you cancel that goal, you'll come face to face with the underlying pain. This is a 2,000-year-old technology which was disappeared almost as instantly as it came along. And I certainly understand why it was disappeared, because it's not easy to grasp unless you know how the mind works. Again, notice, if everybody's doing everything you want them to do, unless you're just a generally miserable person, you're pretty happy with virtually everybody. It's only when somebody does something that you don't want them to do. And that goal is the driver that causes the pain you hold to move in you. And when you cancel that goal, the perception based in that pain will collapse. And you get to access the underlying dynamic. And that's where the forgiveness process occurs. So our goals are the key way into forgiveness. And canceling them is the how-to of forgiveness. So that's a simple introduction to the process of how do we change content to the mind. And Miss Jeanie, I understand you have a hand up.
We actually have 3 hands up.
Well, let's go for the first one.
All right. The first one is Julia, and I believe she's from Washington. Welcome.
Hey, welcome, young lady. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm rocking, doing well, thank you.
Oh, good. Glad you can hear me. I got on through the website. I feel so sophisticated.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, this was a first for me too, Julia, so I'm glad to know that this works. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for your help.
So you're talking through your computer? You're talking through your computer on Blog Talk's website or our website?
On Blog Talk's.
It's Blog Talk's site. You have to be, for those who may not know, you have to sign in, so you have to have an account with Blog Talk. And when you sign in, you can either chat in the chat room. Yes. And you can either chat in the chat room or you can talk. Now, there's supposed to be a button there, and she couldn't find the button. So what I did was emailed her an invite, and she was able to click it and get on. So it's amazing. But anyway, yes. So it uses your computer, speakers, and microphone.
Awesome. Well, let's make sure we keep that link and make it available. So that way, you know, we're doing a lot more people in Europe and such, and they can then call into the show. That'd be awesome.
That's awesome. And I bookmarked the page, so I'll see if I can get back to it.
Now it will change. It will change every day. You'll have to be on Blog Talk MindShifters Radio and then click on the on air. It's the live show. So, you know, where today it says August 7th, tomorrow it'll say August the 8th. So that part of it changes every day, but the first part's the same.
Yeah, this screen looks totally different too, because on the left there's a keypad, you know, with numbers, like it looks on your phone. And so that's different looking than when I went to Blog Talk Radio the first time, when I first signed in. So,
well, glad you made it.
We'll get it all. Yeah, me too. And I told Jeanie I'm really sorry for your loss. I heard about this on Friday.
Thank you for holding the space.
Father-in-law. Yeah, I've been holding the space for you guys. Yeah, and so I'm calling in to bring some light to a reality sheet I'm doing, and it's stuck. I'm getting stuck at step 6.
Okay. A, B, or C?
Let's see. The 6 is kind of hiding here. There it is. A. well, no, not A, because, I can identify how I'm feeling, and B, about number 1, because number 1, it says see that.
Well, number 1, you've got a whole picture of the situation you're working on.
Yes.
So what that question is in 6B, now that you've collapsed the perception you described in number 1, if you think back to that situation, what does it look like now? The whole circumstance.
Okay.
So in number 1, when I started, I had this person who I thought was really irritating to me, and I was angry and upset and fearful and no. So I got a whole story there. When I locate and identify the goal and I cancel it in step 5, I ask Ruka to help to move the energy. Then step 6, how do I feel and how's the situation look to me now? So I'm now looking back at that whole scenario that I described, and has my perceptual construct changed about it?
Okay. How has my construct changed about it? Okay.
Like let me share a situation that comes to mind for me, and this, for me, it's kind of one of those things that stands out like a high, a high energy light beam. This goes back in my early practice of forgiveness, and I had someone I had a conflict going on with, and my mind could detail everything that was wrong, blah 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 blah, and of course why it was all their fault that I was feeling what I was feeling. And I can remember the sensation of, and this is when I was first starting to understand forgiveness, canceling that goal. And it's only happened for me once this dramatically. It's happened many other times, fairly dramatically, but not to this extent. But this one particular situation where, I had it all laid out what was wrong with them. And when I canceled that goal, I literally, like the next instant, could not even remember how I made that whole thing up. It was so clear that it was mine. My disturbance, my pain, my upset was mine and about me. Now that's the most dramatic worksheet I've done in over 40 years, but that's how stark it was. I could not even remember how I created the fantasy that it was their fault, that was going on inside of me. So that's what's meant to point up. It's meant to give you a look at, so has your construct in your mind changed?
Yeah, and that's nice that you just told me that, what you felt, because I was going to ask, like, does it feel kind of contrived when you first start doing this process? Because and not necessarily that I feel like it's contrived, but you're kind of like, oh yeah, right. You're just going to, like, write these couple words and just feel so much better. But so is that kind of normal when you first start doing the worksheet, that you feel a little bit like you'll question it? It's like you're going to be like, no, you're not. And then I kind of say, well, just let it settle in. And because, like, there's a big difference, in your emotion when what comes up, like when I have this thought that triggers me into tears, and then I'm like, yeah, this needs a worksheet, right? And then I start, and then I'm going through it, and I'm feeling better already. It's already kind of settling in. And then you're like, yeah, and so that's
and the
that's
ego
normal.
mind. And the ego mind will try to suck you back in. Wait a minute, You're not going to give up all this pain that easily, are you?
No.
But you know what? You can give up all that pain that easily.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I really feel like that part of surrendering it to Ruka is so powerful, right?
Yes.
That
it is.
Right there. Just
And the world mind has a saying, you've probably heard it 1,000 times. No pain, no gain. That's kind of like one of the rules of the world. In this work, and the truth is, no pain, no pain. That's all.
Yeah.
You don't have to get sucked into it. You don't have to go there. I mean, you may not like what happened. You may not appreciate what happened. You may want to make sure it never happens again. But once you delete your pain, there's no need or reason to be in pain over it. Or at least what seems to be being in pain over it, because the pain that you're inserting into whatever it is always your own.
Yeah.
You know, whenever we're caught in an energetic pattern moving within us that causes pain, and we allow ourselves to collapse into that pain, pain begins its dissolution. That's all.
Yes.
And I can stand in that experience that I would describe to somebody as terrible and awful and horrible and ugly and nasty and all the descriptors I want, and I don't have to do pain over it. And I'll only do pain over it if I've still got a residual content, the original content of pain in me. And when I let go of it, I can stand and go, don't like it, but I don't have to suffer over this. Like it's the end of suffering. And the ego mind will often say, but that's your identity. Don't you know your part in the family system is to suffer? Like your power person suffered? You listen in the political world right now. The people that are out there, oh, I'm such a victim. They're making me suffer. Look what they're doing to me. It's like it's a whole identity that the ego world sucks other people in with and sucks themselves in with. No pain, no pain.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one so much better than no pain, no gain.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I used to say to my daughter all the time, it's only a problem if you call it a problem. You know, it doesn't have to be a problem. You can just not identify with that as a problem.
Right. It's all, again, they're all constructs in the mind, and when we choose to remove them, we can be done with them. Cool. Well, any other thoughts or questions, young lady?
Yeah, I had one, but I forgot it because I was really loving what you were saying. So when I think about it, I'll call back, and I'll let some other people be on the show. Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Blessings. Bye.
All right, Miss Jeanie, we've got another caller.
We do. We have two more callers. And so the next one is Audrey. You're on the air, 520. And then Dan.
Hey, Audrey, welcome.
Thank you. Love to be here. Love to listen to you. I had an aha moment about the worksheet,
right,
and canceling the goal. And my aha moment is canceling the goal, doing the workshop is a creative process. It is actually alchemy. And I'd like to have your thoughts, and I'll listen off the air, when we hear the words, take dominion over the earth.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
I just had that when I was doing the worksheet. I said, wait a minute. This is a creative process, and in the creative process, it is actually alchemy, and through this process, we are taking dominion over the earth. So I just had to call and share. I thought, wow. I said, how cool.
That's it. You know, that statement right after the creation, it speaks about he told them to go forth and multiply and replenish the face of the earth. Most everybody listens to the multiply command, but nobody understood what that replenished the face of the earth. But in Aramaic, what that thought means is literally to bring the earth to completion, to bring the creative process to completion. We're designed to be the cutting edge of creation. So you're right on track. I'm with you 100%. That's what it means to bring the completion point, to replenish the face of the earth, as the Greeks translated it.
Okay, now comes a question. I had an aha moment, and now I have a question. Like when
Awesome.
you say replenish the earth, it means to bring to completion. But
Right.
in the ACIM, the Course in Miracles, they often refer to this as an undoing. And if time is a construct that we as a collective human being in our earth experience agreed upon, if it's an undoing, my question is, it's already done. Am I missing the mark, Michael?
Well, it's already done. The wholeness is there, and you'll notice that you in any particular place where you've got some sort of pain or trauma, you locate the goal, you cancel the goal, you ask for help. There's the undoing, and then notice the final step is you create a new goal based in love toward whatever that object of attention is, yourself or another.
Thank you for the explanation. Yes, thank you for the explanation, because I didn't have clarity about replenishing the earth. Thank you for explaining that.
Yes, we're here as instruments. It's like when I love the word repent. And the way that it's used, repent, you sinners, is a trauma, but actually the word means to turn our thinking another way. Literally, on the level where we're creators, we've got 360-degree vision. We can't turn away from our errors, but we can undo our errors and then turn toward the mind of the Creator that has our real purpose just sitting, waiting for us. What are we really here for? Am I so busy with the past familial traumas, the dramas, the traumas, the pains? Am I so busy with that I lend all of that my creative energy? Or can I pick up and turn toward the mind of love and bring that creative process in to replenish, to complete the face of the earth, the creative process?
Thank you. Thank you for the clarity, and blessings and peace.
You're welcome, young lady. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, take care. Miss Jeanie, you have caller number 3, and we have 19 minutes.
We do. So Dan, 757, you are on the air.
Hey there. Can y'all hear
welcome,
me?
young man. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, good to hear y'all, and holding a space of love for you both. I didn't catch the full beginning, but thinking of you both.
Thank you.
And yeah.
It's mainly our daughter-in-law that we're asking support for. Her dad was killed Saturday in a woodworking accident, and so it's just a shock to the whole family, and so we're mainly asking for support for her, and we're just in that same space of holding her up in light and love, and she's in turn bringing that to her older brothers very powerfully. So it's kind of sweet to see what she's doing with it in such a challenging situation. Was it Thursday? Yeah. So what's on your mind today, Dan? Where are you? Where are your travels taking you? Are you still in Nashville? Or?
Yeah, I'm still in Asheville, and then tomorrow I'll be heading towards Greensboro area and see some people there, and then I'll head back to Virginia on Saturday. and we'll go back to work Monday. But I am, whenever I'm in Asheville, I at least hold the belief that more of my realities get stirred, disturbing and difficult stuff. And I think I'm in this, like, these multiple crises type situations, and early over the, I'm getting out of a romantic relationship, and I'm just, having a hard time with that. I've been doing a lot of worksheets on it, and I guess I had a few. It's like I don't listening to some of the earlier dialogue, and sometimes I'll do a worksheet and there's a lot of clarity. How do you see the situation now? How do you feel now? But other times,
right.
Like, I feel pretty much the same, and I don't really see it a whole lot different, and maybe that's kind of a more denser reality that I'm holding there.
Yes.
So I've had both happen,
yes.
But
if you go back when they asked Yeshua, how many times do I need to forgive this to my brother? Is 7 times enough? Was the question, and his answer was 77 times 70. And oftentimes in doing the process, if you've got something, maybe it's a genetic, it's something that's been going on in the family system for a long time, where there's a lot of emotion connected to it, you can sort of hit a plateau, and you may do many, many worksheets before, bingo, bang, the whole thing just cracks open. So that's the process.
Yeah, because there's like different parts of it that become more illuminated, and what's happening is I just, I'm feeling all of this sadness and grief, and I've discussed with you the idea of the power person, and what confuses me is that it seems like in the relationship I both take on that role, and then I take on the role of who I was in relation to the, my power person. And the way I'm seeing it now is that it's like I've got this projection going on, so that the woman I was dating and that I ended the relationship with, I've got this illusion that she's holding on to all the loving, innocent, and pure parts of myself that I feel that I'm cut off from accessing. So I've projected that into her. She's innocent, and I'm this horrible person that can't stop doing things that are offensive and triggering to her in the relationship. And so now that we're apart, it's like I'm in this illusion that she holds those places of innocence and pure love and that sort of newborn state that I can't seem to access in myself, but I seem to access it when I think about her. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and it sounds like that would be worksheets on self, where you'd be number 1A. And as you do that worksheet, you'd talk through the worksheet and speak to yourself as though you were a third person. What I hear you saying is there's states in me that I'm not accessing. In other words, what I hear is there are blocks that keep me from accessing the true state that I know I'm capable of. And so your forgiveness work will be removing those blocks.
Yeah, and that was actually another question that was coming to me, is a lot of time on the subject or the topic of the worksheet, like I want to write down something external, but also myself in parentheses, or like an aspect of myself that I'm not comfortable with. It seems to all come as like this one unit.
Right. Well, and remember, in our conversations, every perceptual construct of the mind always first tells me more about the content of my mind than the world that I think I'm looking at. So ultimately, it's all smoke and mirrors. If my mind is generating it, whatever it is true about me. It may or may not be true about someone else, but I know for sure that it's true about me because my mind is generating it. And what I want to do is I want to collapse into the deeper and deeper and deeper layers of the part of me that's generating it until I've brought every part capable of that to the presence of love and dissolved it. Then I'll be finished with that issue. And I'll get to move on to what my next piece of work is.
Okay, so if I'm getting to the point where I'm doing worksheets on myself with these things.
That's a good thing. No, that's right on track. Okay. What I hear is you're starting to let go of the projections and starting to own more of what previously perhaps you've projected.
Yeah, well, that's what's been coming out, is that recognizing that a lot of this is a projection. That I've done to, well, I did worksheets that involved, my mother, and then my beliefs about various women, and it was normally what I would do is project parts of me that I wasn't comfortable with or couldn't access, and then I'd think that they held those parts of me and that I couldn't act. You know what I mean? It was like it seemed that other people had to give me access to deeper parts of myself that I've been cut off from.
And what a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's going on with me, just kind of stirring it up. And
sounds right on track, my friend.
It hurts pretty bad, but I think it's on track.
Well, remember that the pain will only remain as deep and as long as you refuse to bring your breath to it.
So just breathing through as it comes up.
Say it again?
So it's just breathing through as it comes up.
Yes. And remember, we
Okay.
talked about the veil of the temple, and that veil is built with the breath. So when there's something I want to hide from myself, that to the degree that I hide from myself, I'm going to allow that veil to close down and keep that energy I'm torturing myself with hidden from myself. When I open my breath fully, that's when I'm going to access that hidden part of me.
So one thing that's happening to me a lot recently is that I've been crying a lot, and that I guess that seems to be, with the healing crisis. I listened to that clip you sent me with the different about healing crisis and some of the eliminative function, increase. And it seems to be with me, it's more, runny nose and kind of phlegm coming up, but then also crying a lot of tears happening. Yeah. And but when
that's elimination.
When I'm actively in that, though, it's very hard for me to cry and breathe at the same time.
That's why I always instruct people, if you need to cry, go for it, as long as you keep breathing. If you have to choose one or the other, choose breathing and let go of the tears.
Really? Okay, because I thought I was doing a disservice because I would breathe and then the crying would stop, and I thought I was blocking that pain from coming out. Okay.
No, the breathing is dissipating the pain. What happens with tears, they've measured chemicals and such in tears and found different types of toxicity and such. It's a form of toxic release. But when you allow yourself to breathe, it moves to a whole different level throughout the whole structure and creates a whole other layer or level of release.
Crying is very easy to, just you kind of wail and then just stay there for a while. And you know what I mean? It's like what had happened to me.
And you'll notice that in order to cry, what do you have to do? You have to tighten down on it. You have to close down on it.
Yeah.
So if there's a choice, if you can do both, go for it. But if there's a choice, breathe rather than cry.
Will do. Okay.
And that will dissipate the energy on deeper and deeper levels.
Awesome.
Cool. You're right on, my friend.
Awesome. Well, it's great to be on the show.
Maybe when you get to see Terry, maybe he'll breathe you again.
Yeah, we had talked about that, and actually that had come up for me. I mean, if that's something that I get a little practice with, can I just do that on my own if it comes up?
Ultimately, it's meant to be done for yourself, by yourself, yes.
But yeah, I'm planning to do a session with Terry.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll let you know how it goes.
All right, sounds good. Any other thoughts, sir?
No, I'm going blank for the moment. I think that's it.
All right. Well, you have a blessed one and travel safely.
All right.
And thanks for the support with Jamie. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Absolutely.
All right, Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody else in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
Susan, 610, you're on the air.
Hello, people.
Hey, welcome, young lady.
I'm sorry about the loss there, that accident. Oh, my God. I hope there wasn't too much pain involved.
Yeah, we actually yesterday, Jeanie, the sheriff took the whole family out to where the accident happened. The sheriff had found him and explained what happened, and we had processed a lot with Jamie before that, and she led the family, all her brothers are older, she's the youngest, and she led them in a kind of a meditation that going out into the field, they weren't going out there to share in his suffering, but to share in his love. And, he passed doing what he loved doing. He was a woodworker and he just did awesome stuff, a prince of a man. And so she started when they got to the field, she started the journey out there with a meditation, and we're here to really be with Dad's love and not his suffering. So she really was able to transform that visit to the site of the accident.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It is.
Was it was he doing woodworking and the saw went wild, or?
No, he does a lot of different kinds of working, and he'd gone out, unfortunately, by himself to cut a tree.
Oh.
And somehow I guess the tree flipped in a way that he didn't expect it to, and it pinned him and crushed him.
Oh,
and it sounds like he was probably killed instantly.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Boy.
It was a huge, like a massive tree.
Mm. Well, thanks for telling me. Yeah. On another note, I was at a family reunion this weekend. We had 30-some-odd people there. The most beautiful family you can imagine. We do have our issues. And one of the most beautiful parts of it is those of us who get up very early ostensibly go to the kitchen where there's a big window and you can see the sunrise over a valley, Salem Valley. Right. And I found my nephew, Tim's older sister's son, there. He's close to 60, or maybe he's 60 now. When he was 10, his father took his own life, and his father was a very beloved member of the family, and he left 3 sons and a wife. He was in such terrible depression for so long that I don't think anybody really is puzzled by that, but he did it very carefully when no one was around and no family member would find him. And anyway, I thought to myself, because this boy, my nephew, was only 10 when this happened, and I thought someday I hope to talk to him about his father. And this was one of those times. He came into the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
He had been on a 10-day retreat, terrible grief over the loss of a girlfriend he thought he was going to marry. It didn't work out. He said the grief gradually broke through to grief about his father, and he went through just paroxysm of tears and things. And he said he felt lighter afterwards. Well, I thought, what a great opportunity, because he said, you know what my problems are? The world isn't doing what I want it to do, so I don't feel good. I said, oh, I have a tool for that.
That's a great insight.
Isn't it? So I said, I know we're going to be cut off, but basically I gave him Jeanie's. He had his phone there, so we got the app and downloaded it, and he looked at the 3 versions of the wake-up sheets, and he, I said they were hard copies I had brought with me, and I said, I'll send copies to you. He said, wow, this looks like great stuff. And he's a Zen Buddhist, and he's been trying to get rid of his ego forever. Lots of luck.
Right.
Anyway, I just wanted to report that it was one of the sweetest times to be able to talk to him and just, tell him what his dad meant to us and how much we loved him and so forth. So anyway, I know you got to go.
Well, that's awesome that he had the insight that it's when he's not getting what he wants. So, he's ready for forgiveness.
We had a good laugh over that. Ain't that the truth, Edward? Yeah, it was great.
I've never noticed that myself.
Oh, no. Never.
Right.
Okay.
All right, dear heart, we appreciate you. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. The world needs it. You're capable of giving it. And blessings. Bye-bye.